Poor bastard. Hey everyone, so I'm seeing a bunch of people wondering where the set list thread is, and I found it. Tonight starts a doubleheader down in Pelham, Alabama. Forgive me, but I wasn't planning on running the thread tonight, so I'm already a shroom chocolate in. But otherwise, let's get this show on the road.
Hi, YouTube, by the way.
Hello, YouTube.
Poor guy.
I know.
He
bit off.
Stop posting at some point.
He bit off more than he can chew. Excuse me.
This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. It sucks.
Hey everybody, welcome back.
I'm JB.
And I'm Mike.
And here we are on a Friday night with another episode of This List Sucks.
This list still sucks. And spoiler alert.
Endlessly.
Yeah, I mean, we have a few more weeks of suck.
Yeah.
Like, I hate to say that, but I mean, we've got a couple of weeks of suck.
Surely some of this list doesn't suck, but the segment we're in right now,
we've hit a dry spell.
Yep.
I mean, last week or 2 weeks ago, because we took last week off. So 2 weeks ago, it wasn't all turds.
Yeah.
It wasn't all turds and pee-pee.
Not at all. There was a couple, and I don't think it's all turds today necessarily, but just nothing really exciting, you know?
And it's weird because we're so high. Like, it feels like we're so high up on the list.
And it's like, yeah, the higher you get, the higher the qualification to not be referred to as a turd, right?
Well, the higher the expectation.
Yeah, that's exactly,
right?
Yeah,
it's like a big expectation. So even if it's a record that I've never listened to before, dude, my cold listen, I'm like, all right, bring it.
Yeah.
Like, what do we got here?
Hot.
Yeah, it should be good.
Should be. A lot of these should be. Yeah. A lot of these I hadn't listened to this week. Like almost, actually all of them, I think. I wasn't familiar with any of them. Were you?
No.
Yeah. So, which I feel like is just weird at this, like you said, at this spot on the list.
Yeah. I mean, obviously we're both familiar with Janet Jackson, but I wasn't like intimately familiar with The Velvet Rope. That's not a record that I'd ever explored before. And
no,
fuck it. Like everybody knows Billie Holiday, but you know, like I know like a Billie Holiday's Essentials,
right? Yeah,
type of playlist, you know,
the greatest hits.
Yeah. Basically.
So Billie Holiday's one where you would have wanted to see a greatest hits instead.
Yes,
I guess we can get into that once we get to that.
Well, and I'm not convinced that we've seen the last of Billie Holiday either. Though.
Probably not.
Like I feel like we're good. Like we're definitely gonna get a greatest hits out of her. Is what I feel like.
Yeah, seems plausible.
At least a collection from like her upbeat, jazzy type of stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I would not be surprised in the slightest. So
yeah.
Me
either. But I mean, before we get into this, because there's always plenty to talk about. It was a New Music Friday, and great minds think alike because we both spent some quality time with a young Miss Billie Eilish.
Yeah, with young Eilish.
Young Eilish.
She released a new album today. Oh shit, I forgot what it was called.
What's it called?
Yeah.
Never happier than ever.
Happier than ever. That's what it is. Yep.
And
she's
it's got like the most
of
melancholy bullshit look of her on the cover.
It's kind of creepy. I don't know if you like
for real.
Her stance is somewhat normal, but then her eyes, like if you look at her eyes, they're evil looking.
Yeah.
I think it's like, yeah, that's part of it.
That's kind of what she's going after though, right?
I'm going to pull it up and just look at it right now just for myself. I can't show it to you guys. But
her eyes are like weirdly haunting.
Yeah.
Is the best way that I could say it.
They're like demon eyes almost.
Yeah. It's definitely a weird one. Not quite as demonizy as like the weirdo on the cover of her last record though.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Fall asleep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was some straight ring shit on the
definitely.
cover of the last
grudge
record.
shit. What'd you think about this one?
Listen, it's really good. It's really well made. Her brother Phineas brings it with the beats. Like the beats are really cool and everything, but I feel the same way about her singing as I do about mumble rappers.
You do?
I mean, I definitely hate mumble rapping more.
Because I do too. I get why, because she almost mumble sings. It's kind of like the singing version of mumble rapping, but I like her better than than mumble rapping. But when she does the real quiet thing, it kind of annoys me. Like there was one song that was almost all spoken word.
Yes.
And actually I dug like the message behind it, you know?
Yes. Yeah.
Not my responsibility or something like that.
Was that okay? So I was listening to it while I was walking, and so I couldn't I don't ever pay attention to song titles whenever I'm walking like that.
Yeah.
I'm just listening, but it has to be.
Yeah, it's called Not My Responsibility. So it's like it's basically 2 minutes of like a little beat and her talking about how her perception in the public eye and what people expect of her, and not just her, but women in general.
Yeah, the clothes that she wears don't necessarily define her, and it doesn't make a difference like to who she is, what she's wearing, and what she looks like. And it was,
and it all leads up. It all leads up to like the song title at the very end. And she's like, and it's not my responsibility. Then it cuts off and goes to the next one.
And there's no verse, like there's no hook or anything. Oh. Like it's all spoken word.
Yeah, essentially.
And spoken might be a strong word. It's all like
mumbled.
It's like half whispered word.
Yeah.
But listen, if I only have one beef, and that's my beef, and part of me thought about, because I've seen Billie Eilish at ACL. And it's like super high energy, right? Like it was fun. Like she was a fun performer to watch.
Yeah, I think it'd be really fun.
But how the fuck do you do this record?
Yeah.
Like, how do you perform this? Unless it's just like, I don't know. Jesus, I don't even know.
Yeah. Maybe pull out the acoustic guitar, like, because a lot of times Phineas does that with her. Yeah. Like, I don't know if I've watched some videos of her like doing little duo performances with her brother. And maybe that's what they do for some of these tunes, like they kind of put the production away and pull out the acoustic guitar and just do it that way.
So I want to say the last Record Store Day of 2019, she released a Record Store Day release of her live with an acoustic guitar, exactly what you're talking about.
So it's probably her brother playing acoustic guitar.
Really fantastic.
Yeah.
I was shocked at how much I really, really enjoy that record. So I know exactly what you're talking about. And yeah, she could do that. But I also felt like, at least whenever I saw her, like they were definitely trying to build her up to be like a big festival headliner.
Yeah.
And fuck all, you can't do that with
like a coffee house acoustic set. Yeah. It's like 11 p.m. Bonnaroo Friday night, and you're like, okay.
that would almost be as bad as the late night set from Bon Iver.
Yes,
where it was just like, fuck, this is literally it's just a snoozer.
That's why it's late night. You go to sleep early,
to help you go to sleep. Like if you're completely spun out of your mind on the world's greatest acid, Bon Iver will put you to sleep. Don't worry.
They were just tired of these fucking fucked up hippies walking around the farm in the middle of the night. They're like, let's just put Bon Iver and they'll all just go back to their campsites and go to sleep.
They'll all just go to sleep. It'll be perfect.
But in terms of this record, I got to give props to Phineas. Like I don't hate her voice, but the real star of this and most Billie Eilish stuff is Phineas. He really has a unique production style. Like it's super modern feeling. And I feel like he just kind of has a style of his own. Like I don't hear a lot of his specific style before,
It's uber minimalist.
Yeah.
But also really dense.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
There's layers, but yeah, it's minimalist at heart. Like there's different textures and he's never just playing everything at once. It's like
he's blending and layering a ton of different sounds. But even the end result, it doesn't overpower anything.
Yeah.
And it feels as if there's very little going on. But when you listen to all the layers and everything, it's intricate. Like there's a bunch going on. So it's very deceptive in that way.
And he writes some really cool chord progressions for any music nerds out there. He uses a lot of diminished chords, which are not like really widely used in pop music. And he makes them super accessible. I mean, that's all Bad Guy basically is. So he uses a lot of that kind of dissonant stuff, and he makes it work. So he's not like beyond just his production ability. He's a good musician, I would say.
And I think that's part of the reason. That's part of her uniqueness too, right? I think it's It's not entirely Phineas. I do think that the sum is greater than the individual parts when you
100%.
put those two together, because his use of those awkward kind of dissonant chords, they fit well with what she's doing in her kind of mumble talky whisper singing.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's has a cohesive effect for sure.
Yeah.
Or a synergist effect.
Yep.
He has his own solo act too. I don't know if you ever checked that out.
So one of his first release was called Blood Harmonies. Is that right?
I think so. Yeah.
I've never checked it out.
Pretty decent. I mean, I have, because I've
Nice.
actually taught a couple of the tunes. I've had them requested from some of my younger students, and it's good. Very good stuff. He plays a lot of guitar. He's a good guitar player.
Good.
He has a good voice. You hear somewhat his voice in the Billie Eilish stuff too, although it's pretty heavily affected most of the time.
Yeah, I guess I've never really tried to pick out when he's singing harmonies.
I think anytime you hear a male voice,
that's him.
It's him. Pretty sure.
Yeah,
which is impressive to me. Like just the fact that she's probably one of the biggest stars in the world right now, right?
Yes.
And I mean, I imagine the personnel on that Wikipedia page says Phineas and Billie Eilish. I don't think there's anybody else involved with that. I mean, he did most of that first album in their apartment, in LA.
Yeah, their personnel credits is the antithesis of Lady in Satin. Basically.
Yeah, exactly. A lot of violinists.
Holy crap.
Tons of violinists.
I mean, it's cool that they individually named every single person in that orchestra.
Yeah.
But that's exactly what they did. They named every
whole
fucking
symphony,
person in the symphony.
Exactly.
But with that being said, what else? We definitely have a programming note, and we totally fucked that up because we were supposed to talk about our programming note for next week.
Oh yeah, we'll talk about it after. We'll hint at it now. So
well, how are we gonna figure anything out during the course of the show?
Because we won't have internet, you mean? Or what you mean tonight?
Yeah, tonight.
Oh, we'll just work it out as we go.
Okay. All right. Well, yeah. So, okay. All right. So next week, programming note for next week, before we get into the list for this week. Programming note for next week. JB and I are both going to be outside of Indianapolis, Indiana, to take in our first fish weekend of the year, which we're extremely excited about. It's going to be at Deer Creek. So we're going to record the show, but we're not recording it on Friday night, because Friday night we're going to be watching fish. Super sorry.
So we're thinking Saturday morning.
Yeah.
Are you still thinking that? That's what I kind of
Yeah.
So Saturday
we'll wake
morning,
up. We'll wipe the cobwebs out of our face holes, and we'll get this shit set up, and we'll do some Saturday morning stuff.
probably not at 5 a.m.
No. Like, I mean, when I say morning, I mean like 11:45 is technically still morning to me.
As long as it's before noon.
Before noon.
Yeah.
Sometime before noon. Things
do it
will
at the
kick
crack of noon.
at the crack of noon.
Yes.
So we might be able to pull off a live stream. We're gonna try.
We're gonna see if we can, because we won't have Wi-Fi out there, obviously.
Yeah,
but we might be able to do but we might be able to do some kind of hotspot cell phone situation. We're gonna have to see how the service ends up being out there. When you have 15,000 people in a field, it might not be good enough to live stream. We'll see.
But we're definitely going to take all the equipment to record it. So worst case scenario, we'll get it in the can and then we'll release it after the weekend. But additional programming note, because we're going to be at a fish concert, we've decided that this is going to be our opportunity to do a bonus episode.
Yes.
About something fishy.
Yes.
Because we're going to be, dude, it's going to be fucking fish on the mind, fish on the brain. So
everyone who listens to this knows that Mike and I are big fish fans, and we've mentioned it before, I'm sure, on the show. But Mike and I have talked several times about doing a fish snub episode of sorts, because fish is not on the Rolling Stones list in any way.
Anywhere.
And so rather than just doing one album, because that's kind of a hard one to pick, thinking like which fish album should be on this list, we're just going to kind of do a fish episode.
Yeah.
And we might see some of our compadres will join us for that show. So they're probably hearing it right now for the first time.
Yeah.
If they're listening to this.
So crew, you might yeah, you might have to do some podcasting. I mean, you don't have to do some podcasting, but if you wind up just sitting around wanting to drink beers in the campground while we're podcasting, we're going to tell you to shut the fuck up.
Yeah.
So you may as
No
well
talking.
you may as well just grab a mic,
say something.
Or I guess if you don't want to be on the podcast, you'll just set up outside the campground, and people that walk by loudly, you'll just have to shush them.
Yeah, you can be our shushers.
Yeah, so it's either be a podcaster or be a shusher.
Yeah, someone's got to be a shusher, though.
It's your choice.
Yeah.
It's your choice. No, but maybe we'll use social to figure out what the hell we're going to talk about, but it's going to be a fish snub episode of some kind.
So yeah, some kind. And yeah, we should maybe do that. Maybe post some questions to our fans and see how people would like to see it laid out.
Yeah. Listen, if you have an opinion on this, yeah, shoot us a message. Let us know. Send us an email, shoot us a message. If there's something in particular that you want us to talk about, fish related, have at you, let us know. And if we hate your ideas, we just won't do them.
We won't even answer you. Just ignore you. Most likely.
So with that being said, if you're used to listening to this on Saturday morning, next week, that's not going to happen. It'll probably be after the fact. And if you want to check out the YouTube channel, check it out. Maybe we can pull it off.
Yeah.
Maybe we can't.
I hope we can. I'm holding out hope, but yeah, worst case scenario, it'll be up Monday night, I'm going to say. So
yeah, good call, because we got to drive back on Monday morning.
Yes, exactly. So look for it Monday night. Check for a live stream. We'll at least be able to post on social media if we have the live stream worked out. I guarantee we can post that. So
yes,
we will keep you guys posted.
Mm-hmm.
But that being said, should we get into the albums for this week?
Yes, please.
So, like we always do, a little recap. If anybody is jumping in here for the first time, we are going through Rolling Stone's list of the 500 greatest albums of all time released last year, and going through 5 records at a time and determining which entries suck or which ordering sucks. And turns out a lot of it does.
A lot of it.
Yeah.
I mean, an extreme amount.
Yeah. And this week we're picking back up at 320. 320. We've gone through 180 albums.
That's crazy, dude.
That does seem crazy.
That's a lot of music. We've listened to a lot of music over the past 9 months.
We really have. And a lot of new music that I haven't heard before.
Yeah. A ton that I've never been exposed to.
That's the worst case scenario. If we would just kind of stick with our fan base that we have now, which we love,
Absolutely.
If it grows bigger, cool. But if it doesn't, like worst case scenario, we hung out with like 40 of our friends for a couple of years.
Just listening and talking shit about music.
And learning a lot of new music that we've not checked out before.
A ton. An absolute ton. And across a lot of different spectrums, like spectrums and genres that I never thought that I would have been really, really into.
Yeah, exactly. So 320, X, Los Angeles from 1980. X stood out from the other LA punks. For one thing, they had a married couple in the band, John Doe and Exene Cervenka. Hope I pronounced that right. Venting their sexual and cultural rage over the high-speed rockabilly thrash of Billy Zoom and DJ Bone Break. Doe and Cervenka met in a poetry workshop, and you can hear it in the complex wordplay of Johnny Hit and Run Pauline and Sex and Dying in High Society. But they kick off their debut with a hilariously nasty bang. Your phone's off the hook, but you're not. Dis.
Dis.
It's actually a pretty solid.
That's a good burn, right?
Yeah.
Burn. Did you like this?
I actually did like it.
Did you 320 like this?
Probably not.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to like jump straight to the end like this. So
it's a fair point, though. When you're this high on the list, that warrants for being the first point.
That's almost the first question, right? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like here,
above the Ramones' "Rocket to Russia."
Okay, so let's start there, right? Because this is definitely punk.
Yeah,
it's as punk gets.
Yeah, straight up.
We've seen "Rocket to Russia." We've seen Black Flag.
We've seen The Clash, but The Clash is more than punk.
Yeah, The Clash is very transcendent.
Rooted in punk, though.
Rooted in punk, but too transcendent to be called punks, in my book.
Yeah.
Anything else?
There's been a couple things like the Raincoats could be maybe considered punk.
Yeah.
Some of the Iggy Pop stuff is like proto-punk.
Yeah, the Stooges is like pre-punk type of thing.
Yeah. But in terms of like straight up punk, I don't think we've had anything other than the Ramones
And Black Flag.
and Black Flag.
Okay, so
which is like hardcore punk. This isn't really hardcore.
No.
Yeah.
No, definitely not. This is
Ramonesy punk.
This to me is the predecessor to like Blink 182 and pop punk.
Yeah.
Is what this is in my book, you know, because this is way poppier certainly than Black Flag. Black Flag was just kind of like, that was like
it's dark and aggressive.
Yeah, that was like a
violent.
That was like a punk's punk music.
Yeah.
Whereas this is like, I don't know, Beverly Hills 90210 punk music.
Yeah.
And then the Ramones is like somewhere in between. Because the Ramones is super accessible, but it's definitely punk.
Yeah.
You know? And if I compared this to the Ramones, man, Rocket to Russia was way better than this, in my opinion.
You think so?
Yeah. But here's the thing about this. There's a couple of things that they do on this record that totally fucking melted my brain. And I really, really loved.
Okay.
And all of it centered around Ray Manzarek.
Oh, yeah, the organ. Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
We should have mentioned that already. I don't even know how that's not in the description.
Right?
Yeah. Ray Manzarek, the organ player of the Doors.
Produced this record and performed all of the organ work that you hear on this record,
which is only on like 5 songs maybe, but still you don't get organ in punk.
Thank you. And so when it comes on, you're like, what the fuck is that? And then when you dig a little deeper and realize that it's Ray Manzarek from the Doors, and he's like, it's fun because he's like, I feel like he was taking exactly what he did with the Doors, but said, no, you know what? Like if I was in a punk band, it would sound like this.
Yeah.
And then he did it.
This is what punk needs to sound like.
Yeah. It's like psychedelic organ punk. And that I loved. Fucking really, really loved it. So like Nausea, I put 3 stars next to. I really loved that. And I loved the Unheard Music too.
The Unheard Music was by far my favorite track. It's actually a 5-star song for me.
I didn't give any fucking 5 stars on this.
That was
not a one.
Honestly, I put stars next to a lot of these because I really did like it, but most of them are lower stars, like 1 or 2, you know? And then I gave the Unheard Music 5, and then I gave The World's a Mess, It's in My Kiss 4. I love those last 2 songs. I thought they were a fantastic way to close the album. Sorry, I love talking to the mic there.
No, I loved the end of The World's a Mess, It's in My Kiss. I really loved the end of that. I gave it 2 stars, which I didn't think, I don't think that's bad. And there's only a couple of songs that I didn't put any stars next to. One of which, though, is the very first one. The Phone's Off the Hook, But You're Not. I wasn't into that.
Really?
Yeah.
I gave it 2.
Did you?
And I liked Johnny Hit and Run Pauline a lot. Johnny Hit and Run Pauline is just kind of a classic punk. I feel like
it's
that's
like
the thing.
Surfer. It's like surf rock or like surf punk.
Yeah.
Yeah, is what it reminded me of. And I gave it a star because I did like that song.
That's such a punk thing to do, to like pick a random phrase like that, like Sex and Dine in High Society, and then make that be the chorus. There's nothing else. It's just Sex and Dine in High Society, Sex and Dine in High Society. And I kind of like it.
It's super punk.
Yeah.
It does like that. And that is, when you think about all of the weird stuff on this record, you have to ultimately come back and be like, oh, this is as punk as it gets.
Yeah. This is pure punk.
Yeah. What'd you think about the Doors cover?
Oh, so that was Soul Kitchen.
Yeah.
I liked it. It was okay. Good guitar playing on it, but I probably prefer the Doors version.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
That's exactly what. That's where I was. I really wanted the Doors version. I wasn't very into Sugarlight, and I wasn't very into Los Angeles though.
Sugarlight was almost like rockabilly a little bit in the recording of the vocals. I did like Los Angeles.
Did you?
Remember there was some like questionable lyrics on that, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
I don't remember what it was pertaining to. I just wrote questionable lyrics.
Yeah, there was racial slurs. I'm pretty sure.
Oh yeah.
I want to say it was like faggots and
N-words. I think there was an N-word in that.
Yeah, I want to say F-words and N-words.
Yeah.
Is what was in there. And I didn't Oh, well, Sugar Light. Sugar Light. I didn't understand. I didn't even get those lyrics. Like, I'm reading them too. And it just, like, the song didn't necessarily make sense to me.
Okay, so what I
Lyrically.
wrote was, I think this song is just about doing drugs, but really I can't tell.
Okay, good. So I'm not the only one.
Yeah, that's what I think it was about doing like heroin.
Jesus, really?
There was a couple lines that made me think maybe I can pull up the lyrics and see if it pops out at me. Because I did look these up while I was like, what the hell is this about?
Yeah.
Just on my arm.
I was reading them, wondering what the fuck is this about?
My arm is tied off, waiting to burn it down.
All right.
So I was like, assuming this is about
it's got to be about
shooting
junk,
up
right?
junk. Yeah.
It's got to be a junk song. Well done. It's all right. I mean, it's okay. It's all right.
If you're gonna listen to one, listen to the Unheard Music.
Yes.
If you're asking me,
I would back that up.
that was almost kind of new wavy. And
Yes.
one thing I did like about it is about the album in general, really, is their voices worked well together, like the husband and wife combination. I liked that.
Well, and in that song in particular, like there was really good harmonies.
Yeah, they sang
like
some
they
good
were
harmonies.
harmonizing well.
And this was it was unexpected for me because it was way different style than the rest of the song, the whole album.
I made a note that it almost had a metal type of feel to it.
Yeah,
Is what I wrote.
Or like hard rock. I wrote ZZ Top. It like made me think of ZZ Top.
Like 70s ZZ Top?
Yeah, like Sharp Dressed Man,
Yeah.
ZZ Top.
Oh shit. Okay, so no, you are going 80s ZZ Top. All right.
Okay, is that 80s?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Listen, it's a great song though. And I do think that I do think that the Unheard Music, where it's not necessarily emblematic of everything that you're going to hear on here, it's the most interesting thing that you're going to hear on here.
Yeah.
And that's
definitely.
why I would give it a listen. You can't listen to that one song and then assume that the rest of the record sounds like that though, because
it does not.
not
at all.
true.
Yeah.
Not true. You know, you might be able to say that about Nausea, and that like it's really good, but it's really, really, it's so different sounding because of the organ. You know, did you put any stars next to that? Did you like that song at all?
Nausea?
Yeah.
Yeah, I did like it. I put 2 next to that one.
Okay. All right. So I'm not completely off base then.
No, not at all.
with any
I
of
thought it
those.
had a pretty catchy chorus.
It did.
But yeah, I don't have a problem with this being on this list because it's a pretty influential punk record, and punk was hugely influential genre in most styles of rock that came after it. You know what I mean?
Sure.
But it's too high. It needs to be in the 400s.
Yes.
Yeah, probably north of 450, meaning lower.
Yeah. Higher than 450. I don't know that. I mean, I don't know. We already got Black Flag there. You know, I would be okay with it between 425 and 450. But this is way too fucking high. This seems crazy to me. Seems crazy.
Yeah. Maybe just because we didn't know it. I mean,
possibly.
Maybe some other people would be like, what are you guys talking about? That's such an influential album, and
did you
everybody listens to it.
Did you add it to digital?
No.
Would you give a shit about the vinyl?
If I saw it and it was, not expensive, I probably would snag it.
Yeah. I wouldn't.
Just as a collector,
Sure. Yeah, but yeah, for me, I would rather find the Ramones.
Oh, yeah,
I'd rather find
sure.
Rocket to Russia.
I would too.
Versus this. And that doesn't mean that this is bad. It's just, the uniqueness to me, of the organ and everything else that's going on, which I do find unique. I find it clever and I love it. It's not enough for me to warrant this high of a rating. It's just not.
Because it is very high.
Yeah, super duper high.
But yeah, check it out and you decide for yourself.
Yeah. Or you should give it a listen. Give it a listen, but I would temper your expectations relative to number 320. So with that being said, let's get into what I'm going to call one of my more interesting listens of the week. And that was number 319, the 1989 debut from the Stone Roses, self-titled Stone Roses. Duh. Rolling Stone says, for a few glorious moments at the dawn of the 90s, the Stone Roses looked like they were going to lead another British invasion. This one of baggy-panted, floppy-haired bands that loved 60s guitars and ravey dance beats with the same whimsical fervor. The sound never crossed over here and the band fell apart. But first they made this incredible album highlighted by the ecstatic 8-minute long I Am the Resurrection. It laid the foundation for Britpop that blew up a few years later. You had no clue who the Stone Roses were, correct?
I've heard of them for sure.
Well, you've heard the name maybe, but
before in reference to like 90s psychedelic rock, I've heard of them mentioned several times, but I had ever listened to their record. Absolutely not. No.
And
had you?
No. I knew the name, kind of like you, but if you would have asked me where they were from, I would have been like, aren't they from Detroit, bro?
Yeah. Everybody knows the Stone Roses are from Detroit.
Obviously.
Yeah. This was probably tied for my favorite listen of the week.
Yes, I could second that.
Yeah. I don't know if we're gonna have the
probably not the same favorite. Yeah, I don't think we will. But this is definitely my number 2.
Yeah,
and it's pretty close. It's pretty close.
It's pretty solid. I mean, it's like, see if you agree with this. It's like 80s new wave combined with 90s alt rock.
Yes.
Yeah. You know, and I like both of those things. So
yeah, I do too. I mean, there's almost nothing to dislike here.
Yeah, it's pretty accessible, but it's also kind of psychedelic
at times.
Yeah, at times. Definitely not all the time.
At times. I put stars next to every song on the record, and a lot of them I put 2 stars next to, which is probably indicative of how I felt about this, meaning that, you know, in my kind of world, like 2 stars is a really good song, but it's not like holy shit, like earth shattering by any stretch of the imagination. And that's basically how I felt about this whole record. All these songs are good. Like they're easy to listen to. They're super catchy. But at the same time, there was only a couple of these that I thought were just really, 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 really good.
Sorry, the highest starred song was how many?
I did give 5 stars to Made of Stone. I love that song.
Gotcha.
How about you?
Highest starred, or what did I give Made of Stone?
Both.
Made of Stone, I gave 2.
Okay.
And I liked it. And what I said, like another really well written, accessible, sing along worthy chorus. Mm-hmm. For this style of music, I feel like I want a little more rawness than what was present on that song. Oh. And it was just a little refined for like the 90s rock for me. You know, like I
the
dig,
whole
like,
thing was super produced though.
Very
right?
produced, refined. Like when I think of like the 90s rock thing, I'm thinking about like Pavement and things like that.
Yeah.
And I like, there's a rawness there that I really identify with.
See this, and that's interesting that you say that, because that's the biggest, in my mind, like when I think about what was happening in the 90s in the UK with bands like the Stone Roses or Oasis or Blur, like all those bands are all contemporaries of each other. When I think about that relative to what was happening here, which was Nirvana and Soundgarden and Pearl Jam
and Pavement,
and like that's the distinction though, right? Is that here everything was like
raw,
intentionally, it was an intentional throwback to something that just sounded raw.
Yeah.
You know, raw and new and really unpolished. And everything in the UK was the polar opposite in terms of the feel and the sound and the polish.
Yes. But I'm not arguing that it's objectively better or worse. I'm arguing that for me personally, maybe I just preferred what was going on in the US in the 90s as opposed to what was going on over in Britain. You know?
Yeah. And I can't disagree with that. But at the same time, I appreciate what they were doing.
Yeah.
Because I do think it's interesting, you know,
definitely.
And it's well executed.
Really well. There's a lot of good tunes on here. My highest starred song was I Am the Resurrection by far. 8 minutes long. It had almost like a funk rock jam in the middle of it.
Yes.
Good little like orchestrated hits in the middle, extended like mid outro section. And I loved the verse on that. Just really, really good melody.
Yeah. I gave it 3 stars because that one deserved the Freebird treatment.
Cut down a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Edit fucking 3 minutes out of that.
What about the last one, which was 10 minutes?
I loved Fool's Gold.
I liked Fool's Gold too.
But I loved Fool's Gold because it literally didn't sound like a drummer. It sounded like a drum machine, and it had like a house feel to it.
It was like a psychedelic funk jam a little bit.
A little bit, but to me, it was a psychedelic house jam.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's like
house beat, but like funk guitar.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah. Yes. And I will take that combination all day long. I love it. Definitely. So yeah, I gave that one 4 stars.
You get almost kind of trancy at the end.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. But that's all, like, to me, that's all in the drum beat.
Yeah.
It's all in the drums that gives you that kind of feel. Now, of course, the guitar is going to add flavor to that. The bass is going to add flavor to that. But the drums are what make that song so great.
I liked Waterfall a lot too. It almost had like world music vibes. did you write anything about that? Like, I don't know if it was like hand drumming or something to do with the beat and just the cyclical riff that was going on made it feel kind of Paul Simon-y.
I just wrote that I really enjoyed the guitar and the bass. And the vocals were really, really easy to kind of slip into. Like all of the layers were good. And I loved the lyrics on that too. Like,
I really liked
really good lyrics.
Actually, I have one other 4-starred song that I didn't even remember, which was Don't Stop. I love Don't Stop.
The fuzz, dude. The fuzz guitar on that is money for me.
And that was like the first, maybe third or almost half was instrumental.
Yeah.
And I love when eventually, and it kind of built up and it was really psychedelic and it was like a reversed guitar track is what it was.
Mm-hmm.
That they recorded it and then reversed it.
Yes. And they backmasked it. They backmasked it, or however the fuck you say that. Backmasking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then when the vocals finally came in, there was like a real quick break and it just cut out and it was only like vocals saying like don't, and then it came right back in. But I thought was really, really cool.
It was cool.
I loved that one.
Can't disagree. What'd you think about Shoot You Down?
That's the only one I gave no stars.
Really?
Although I'm wondering if I forgot to write some because I feel like I remembered like that. That was like the one that was like, I love to do it to you, and you know you've always had it coming, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I feel like I kind of liked that one a little bit, so maybe I forgot to start that.
It was like to me, it felt like an updated version of. It felt like a Beatles song, is what it felt like to me.
Yeah.
It felt like a newer Beatles song, or maybe even like a Fleet Foxes type of feel to it.
So you liked it? I take it.
Yeah, I dug it. I gave it 3 stars. I was in. I love the bass line, and the vocals were just, that's the one thing, like the vocals on this are so easy to listen to. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know, sometimes like even on, and granted X is a punk band, and so, you know, you're going to get more challenging vocals, but you know, sometimes like we were talking about Billie Eilish, like mumble rap, like the whisper sing, like sometimes vocals are really challenging, but damn, like this worked. And it didn't matter if it was like a more psychedelic bend or a more funk bend or a more house feel. Like the vocals were just really easy.
Yeah.
Easy on the ears. Which I
agreed.
Like.
Definitely.
So what do you want to do with this thing?
Well, this is an interesting album because like we talked about this a little bit earlier in the week. I know it's like, it was so good that they essentially couldn't effectively follow it up. And then they just kind of faded out of relevance.
I mean, they only made one other album after this, and it was horrid dog shit.
Did you listen to it?
No,
but it's.
I mean, it's
known.
Yeah,
it is known.
It is known that their follow up to this fell hard on its face.
Yeah.
And they basically broke up shortly after that.
And then I think they ended up reuniting and playing some shows and stuff.
They did a reunion, played a few shows, got super excited, said they were going to release a new CD, and cut like 3 songs.
And they're like, hey.
And they're like, fuck you guys.
We peaked in 89.
89. We'll always have 89, guys. Yeah, something like that. I don't... because this wasn't an anchor in my life, And I feel
And
like
that's-
this record has to be like an anchor in your life for some reason to warrant this type of ranking.
Because it's very high as well. And yeah, it's just, I was about to say something like that. Like maybe it's just because I wasn't familiar with it before. Maybe it would have meant more to me if I discovered it earlier or before I spent more than 2 weeks with it, you know?
Yeah.
But just, I feel like any album on this list, you should be able to ascertain why it's there within a week or two. You know what I mean? Like it shouldn't be something that you have to have that nostalgia connection to in order to understand its placement, you know?
Yeah. And I mean, ideally, you're talking about 500 albums, which that's a lot of albums, but not in the pantheon of how many albums have been released, right?
Yeah, it's not very many.
It's really quite a small sample size. So to me, even on a cold listen, for the most part, most of these records, it should be, oh yeah, okay, I get this. I understand. You know, it shouldn't be difficult to figure out why this is there. And I don't think this one is super difficult to figure out. It's a really good record.
Yeah.
Like it really is. Like it's a good early-ish alt record, British alt record, right? And it's good. But man, I don't know. I don't know about 319.
I know. I think it's definitely way too high.
Well, tell me this. Do you want this on vinyl?
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah, I would
do
pick
it.
up the vinyl too. Did you add it to digital?
No. I don't think I added any this week to digital.
I added everything to digital because I did some plain listening, but there's gonna be plenty that I remove.
Gotcha.
You know, I'll just delete them from.
Oh, because you had to download.
Yeah,
it.
because I had to download them because I was up in the sky. Okay, I'm gonna say that this thing needs to drop by 50 to 75.
Yeah. I think it's at 400s for me.
Yeah, so you're dropping it even more.
Mhm.
I would keep it higher than 400, but realistically, like it probably needs to fall at least between 375 and 400 for me. Just because it doesn't, I don't know.
Which again, that's not a slight. You know, that's still a compliment. We want it on the list.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I would rather, I don't know. I'd rather see something with more uniqueness at this stage in the game, or something that, again, on a cold listen, you know, you get halfway through and you're like, fuck yeah.
There are plenty of things that were before this on this list that I would prefer to see higher than this, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. So I'd pick up the vinyl, but I definitely got to drop it down. And it's worth a listen. Like if you're not into the Stone Roses, if you're not familiar with them, you should absolutely do it. One of the things that I want to make sure that we do though is bring in Rex, because Rex took the time to send us an email. So real quick, I want to talk about his Stone Roses, and then I'll let you jump back and you can recap his thoughts on X. Yeah. So Rex writes to us, why is this album here? Did I miss something? I don't get it. There's nothing special about this one that I hear. Nothing coming out of the speakers grabs my attention. If this record was on sale for 50 cents, I would buy it just to have a replacement coaster. Fuck. Next.
How do you actually feel?
Jeez, Rex. Tell us how you really feel.
I know. So Rex, he didn't love it. I wouldn't say.
No.
Wow, we definitely liked it a lot more than Rex did.
Yeah, he probably doesn't want to keep it on the list even.
I don't think so at all. Yeah, I would venture that far. But yeah, honestly, I'm surprised by that.
I am too. I thought that he would have dug it a little bit.
Because what I was about to say is this is definitely my top recommendation of the week. Like if you're going to listen to one,
interesting.
I'm not saying it's my favorite album of the week, but I think the other stuff, you know, you're kind of familiar with the sound at least, but this band, I don't think you've heard this band. So, you know, go listen to this. And you've heard bands like X, I think.
Yeah.
You know, you've heard Billie Holiday, you've heard Janet Jackson.
We just heard The Who.
You've definitely heard The Who. We just heard Janet Jackson, you know.
That's absolutely true.
But you haven't heard the Stone Roses, probably.
Probably not.
Or at least I hadn't. So go check this. That's my top recommendation of the week.
I feel you.
Okay, Rex Todd, going back real quick to Los Angeles by X, that first album we talked about. Liked this album within the first 5 seconds of the first track. Super clean riffs, great vocals, something perfect to start an early Friday morning. This is a great album, well produced, just an overall fantastic new jam. Wow, he loved it.
I know, which is fun. Like that's why I like taking in Rex's thoughts, because a lot of times he's dead ass wrong like that.
Yeah.
I'm just teasing you, Rex.
Sometimes he is.
I love it.
We got to have something to compare our answers to.
Sometime. Exactly. What do you say? Should we move on to Ms. Jackson?
Yes.
Sorry,
the second one in 20 albums, right? Or in 15?
Fuck. Yeah, it might be in 15. 334. Oh, no, you got to go back farther than that, actually. You got to go back to 339.
Okay. So 21 albums.
Yep.
Rhythm Nation was there. 318 has Janet Jackson's The Velvet Rope from 97. So that's about 10 years later, right? Than Rhythm Nation.
Shit. I just moved away.
Sorry, I apologize.
Oh, you're okay. Hang on. I think it's closer than that. Rhythm Nation was 89.
So yeah, close to 10 years.
10 years.
Yeah. Janet Jackson left behind her girl next door image forever with The Velvet Rope, an album of sexy, confessional, freewheeling hip-hop soul. She fuses Joni Mitchell and Q-Tip in Got Till It's Gone, but the shocker is her girl version of Rod Stewart's Tonight's the Night. I always write about what's in my life, she told Rolling Stone. I did that on Control, and I did the same thing with this album. It's kind of like cutting yourself open and exposing yourself to the world, which is a really vulnerable thing.
That's what she did here, right?
She definitely did that. Yeah. What'd you think of it?
So when I did my cold listen, I was disappointed that they had this one here and Rhythm Nation where they had it.
Yeah, I'll agree with you right off the bat.
Because I felt like I wanted to see Rhythm Nation up here more, just because to me, like the hits on Rhythm Nation are fucking really, really big, you know? And also, mind you, the hits on Rhythm Nation are almost all exclusively written by Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. This record, though, like when I dug down into it, listening to it, like when they talk about vulnerability and like an artist talking about like real shit and real vulnerable shit, this is it. Like this is a way more kind of open book into her thoughts I felt than Rhythm Nation, primarily because she has songwriting credits on every single one of these.
Does she?
And I think that a lot of those songwriting credits are not the music. You know, I still think that Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis did almost all of this music on this record because the music itself is really, really good, right? They write great hooks, good beats, like it's all there. But when you listen to the things that she's saying and kind of what she's exploring, I do think that this is a super personal album for her. And I love the social justice aspect of Rhythm Nation because that one was really, really like, it was really powerful, like what she was trying to say.
It really was. And there was some of that here too, like the stuff that she's talking about, same-sex relationships and stuff.
Absolutely.
And this is 97. I mean, it's not that it was like unheard of, but it also was like, you know, it was still okay to like say faggot and things like that back then. You know what I mean?
All of those words were totally socially acceptable. And don't forget, this album had to have been done within the Defensive Marriage Act. I think Defensive Marriage Act was like 95 or 96. Yeah. And the Defensive Marriage Act was where Bill Clinton, Democrat, right? Like you would think that Democrats would support gay marriage, which they largely do now politically.
But not in 96.
Fuck no, dude. Bill Clinton literally passed a law, like signed into legislation, a law that protected the idea that marriage could only exist between a man and a woman.
Right.
And that was a Democrat that did that.
Yeah.
You know, so the world was way fucking different. And she's taking serious chances, like talking about.
She really is. It's a bold thing.
Girl.
And I appreciate that. That's one thing I really love about Janet Jackson is her presence. I mean, she's super like warm, compassionate, almost like nurturing, you know, but towards everybody. She's very accepting.
There's so
she
much
has
love,
very good
dude.
messages.
Yeah, so much love.
Lots of love in her.
So much love. And that's where I'm at too. And it's funny because again, the cold listen, like there's not nearly as many just like hard hitting hits on this record.
Yeah.
But I actually like it above Rhythm Nation just because, man, I feel like this is an artist that has been dissected by herself. Does that make sense? Like she really kind of cut herself open and like showed the world the inside. I
think I'm still on team move Rhythm Nation up, but I get what you're saying, you know.
What hit you the hardest here? What did you like?
So honestly, this one was it took a little bit for me to really get into it.
Mm-hmm.
The first song that I gave more than 2 stars was Go Deep.
Okay. I gave that one 2 stars.
Track 8.
Yep.
I loved the chorus on that.
G-Funk? Did you hear G-Funk in this?
Kind of. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say so.
Yeah, I heard that too.
I'm going to say it. I did not like Got Till It's Gone at all.
Even with Q-Tip.
Definitely not. Yeah. I just did not like what they were doing there at all. And it was a kind of trip hoppy, which normally I really like trip hop, but that was not working for me. I did not like it felt like it was Joni Mitchell's voice, but it sounded like it was auto-tuned. I don't know if it was or if it wasn't. It sounded like it was. And it was also sampled and they were like cutting it in. It just wasn't working for me. I don't want to hear Joni's Mitchell voice in that context. And Q-Tip kept saying, Joni Mitchell never lies. I hated that. I was like, that is just why are you even rapping right now? Like, just do your rap verse. We don't need you to cut in over Joni Mitchell singing and say, Joni Mitchell never lies. What a worthless contribution to the song that was.
I didn't hate the song because I liked the way that their voices complemented each other. Because Q-Tip has a really, really unique tenor to his voice, right? Like it's almost kind of nasally and like almost high pitched in a weird way.
Kind of reminds me of that a little bit. You think so? No?
Yeah, but it's high, but it's even higher pitched than Kid Cudi. Does that make sense?
Might be.
Like the actual pitch to his voice is higher. And I actually really liked the tenor of his voice with Janet's voice, you know?
Yeah.
I
didn't hate that at all. And I didn't dislike his actual like verse when he did his verse.
When he actually did his verse.
That was fine. Yeah. But I just didn't like the combination of that with Joni Mitchell and the auto tuning. If there was it sounded like it was.
It was, dude, they did something weird.
Yeah.
They did something weird to that sample.
The beat was really good on it.
But I get I get the criticism that you're throwing out there, like the kind of chopped up feel to it.
Yeah.
I didn't hate it nearly as much as you did though.
Yeah. It did not work for me at all.
I loved Free Zone.
That was my next 3-star. I loved that one.
Yeah. It was so eclectic, dude. That's just a fucking wild song.
And talk about like bold lyrics at the time, you know.
Fuck yeah, dude. The horns, like really, really wonderful horns in there.
Yeah, that was like,
dude.
There's almost like some instrumental hip hop to that, you know?
Yeah.
Because there were some instrumental sections.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
The end, there's a wonderful little flute part at the end that's just fucking great.
I like Together Again a lot.
Yes, I did too. I put 3 stars next to that.
Same. Really heartfelt, well-written chorus.
Yep.
Has a harp on that.
What so the one that I gave the most stars to was What About? What About was basically
I gave 1 to that. I remember that one.
Oh, yeah. Why? Really? You hated that much?
No. A star is good, right?
Oh, I know. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I just fucking loved that song, dude. The lyrics to that song were just so fucking visceral. And the hook, man, the hook to that song is crazy.
It's hard hitting, man. It's good that she's not putting up with that asshole shit anymore.
Right?
Seriously, good slap bass on it. Yeah.
You know what I thought about when I was listening to that song? Did she write that about her dad?
No. She wrote it about a lover.
Did she?
Yeah, because she says like, when you told me you didn't fuck her,
when you told me
she only gave
you head.
Yeah. I don't think she's saying that to her dad, but
probably not.
Probably like lover. I at least that's how I took it. I don't know. Maybe I need to listen.
No, you're right. It has to be. But just like the way that she was talking about like the emotional abuse, like the verbal abuse, and then the cheating and everything else, like it's like,
but
I
you
don't
could
know.
definitely draw some parallels to her dad there for sure.
Yeah.
No doubt about that.
Yeah.
The beginning was a little cheesy to me. It was like pretty stereotypical R&B ballad with like beach
It felt like a
sounds,
ballad. Yeah.
beach sounds, classical guitar, and inexplicably.
Yeah. Like a weird flamenco guitar or some shit.
Yeah. But then when it came with the chorus, it's like, boom, and the chorus was really good.
The
super
chorus
good hook.
hits super fucking hard, right? It's
Yeah.
a really good hook.
So
And
I liked it.
To me, it was a combination of the hook and the message.
Yeah.
I loved it. Like, I love girl anthems about fuck you.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah. No, I get it.
Like, those are the best girl anthems. So, tonight's the night.
Especially because fuck that guy. Yeah.
Yeah.
He sounds like an asshole.
I know, right?
Yeah, he really does. Tonight's the night. Rod Stewart cover. What'd you think?
I loved it.
Did
I
you
loved
love
your
it?
take on it.
Yeah.
It was fun.
I didn't
fun.
star it, but I didn't dislike it. Was that a stand-up bass?
Yes.
Okay, I was trying to figure out if it was.
Dude, and I love just like there was this certain tenderness to her voice in that song. And she almost always has like this unique tenderness to her voice, but just in that setting with that particular song, I'm in. Loved it.
I liked I
Should
Get
be
Lonely
hooked.
a lot. Just like that one.
Yeah. I mean, I gave it 2 stars.
That was a 4-star for me.
Nice.
It almost reminded me of Jackson 5 on the verse.
Did you?
Not the chorus at all, but the verse.
The verse, yeah. I loved the verse, and I thought it was rad how they basically just ISO'd her voice with that bass.
Yeah.
And
That's
I
kind of
love
what it
that
was,
a
because a
lot.
lot of the Jackson 5 stuff
Is a
like
lot of
think
that.
about like the ABC tune and
Yeah.
stuff is like pretty bass reliant. You know what I
Yes.
mean?
Yeah, or bass centric during the verses. I mean, obviously, you have the lyricist and the performer that's out there that's carrying the melody, but when you strip that away, it's mostly just the bass, right?
Holding it,
That's holding up the rest of the song. So,
And then after that, it was like a bunch of dirty sex songs. This is basically what it was. It's
Yeah.
funny because
Yeah,
like I
ostensibly.
can't tell what the Velvet Rope is. Like I think what the Velvet Rope is, and based on what I was reading, is like this is basically like a wall you put up, you know, and you let someone pass your
And you let
velvet
someone
rope,
pass the velvet rope.
meaning that you let them inside, let your guard down.
It's
basically.
a club reference, right?
Yeah.
It's a club
Yeah,
reference.
exactly. But like turn it into like, letting your emotional guard down.
yes.
But then in that song, she's like, I want you inside my velvet rope. I'm like, is the velvet rope a vagina? Like, I don't know what the velvet rope is.
It does get muddied in that song.
Yeah.
Right? Because above and beyond anything else, she just wants that fucking rope burn.
Right?
Yeah. I wrote it was a cool, sexy little burner. That's what I wrote. And it also had more of that kind of G-funk type of feel.
Yeah.
Which I love how like the G-funk from the West Coast rap scene kind of blended itself into pop music. And I've really felt that more than anywhere right here with this record. A lot of that.
Which is why that stuff needs to be on this list. The G-funk stuff.
Absolutely.
Like the Snoop record and the Chronic,
Yeah, absolutely.
I wrote something like a deep message that last interlude was a deep message. So I want to pull the lyrics up to that one.
That's funny because I wrote the same thing. I wrote skit with great message.
Yeah.
Because there's not much to say. And I want to say that last one is only like 20 seconds or 21 seconds. A lot of these interludes are just that.
And it's
like
the same thing on
single
Rhythm Nation.
Yes, absolutely. They're like single phrases that join the theme of the album together.
Yeah.
Or link one song to the next.
So the spoken line on that last interlude was, there's nothing more depressing than having everything and still feeling sad. We must learn to water our spiritual garden.
Yeah,
I like
dude, that's a wonderful message.
It is. It really is.
It's a great message.
And she wrote that shit. I bet.
Yes. Yeah. I think she wrote all of the lyrics on this whole thing.
Really?
Yeah. When I look at the writing credits, like the writing credits across the board, I feel fairly confident that was her contribution, because I don't think that she's much of a I don't think she's much of a musician. You know, like
I don't think so.
I really think that her producers and especially Terry Lewis and Jimmy Jam wrote most of her stuff.
Yeah,
you know,
music.
musically.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want to just flip these spots with Rhythm Nation and this one? Or do you want to move them both up? Do you want to move them both down? Like, or what are you thinking?
I need to look back at what I said about Rhythm Nation.
About Rhythm Nation.
I think I'd probably drop this down a little bit. I'd leave it on. I think Janet Jackson definitely deserves a couple records on this list. And spoiler alert, let's read Rex real quick. But one comment Rex makes is, wait, Control isn't on this list. So her album Control, which is the other one that I would have thought maybe would have been on here.
It's on here.
It is on here?
It's on here.
Oh, maybe he's just thinking that because he hasn't seen it yet.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Rex, listen, based on that comment, weight control isn't on this list. I believe that that's incorrect.
Okay. Well, we'll have to find out.
Yeah, and if you haven't seen it on the list, just keep going higher.
Okay. So it's pretty high. Okay. Well then, yeah, I'd probably drop this one into the lower portion of 300, so probably like 380 to 400.
Okay.
And keep Rhythm Nation where it is.
Oh, okay. All right. So you don't want to move Rhythm Nation at all. You just want to drop this one a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Man, so Rex says definitely has that late 90s R&B sound and feel. You can hear the maturity in her voice. It's a good album. Rhythm Nation and this album could trade places and I wouldn't even be mad about it. So Rex is basically in that camp of, hey, these are both good, but let's put Rhythm Nation above this.
Yeah. But then he says, wait, Control isn't on this list.
This fucking list, I tell you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, Rex, recheck the list and just go higher. And I'm pretty sure you find Control. Man, I'm super torn. And I don't think I'm wrong either way. I'm actually okay with this being above Rhythm Nation though, just because of, like I say, like I think there's a unique vulnerability with this album. Yeah. And I appreciate an artist taking that type of risk. And especially in this time, because I mean, I'm not saying that Janet Jackson is the reason why like LGBTQ, why that movement like slowly gained traction, but this sure as fuck didn't hurt it.
No, it definitely helped it.
And from that standpoint, even though Rhythm Nation, I think, did a lot of the same things in terms of like the social justice message that she had in a lot of those songs, because this one is so much more, I think, personal. I'm willing to say, yeah, like now, I don't know. This is so hard, dude.
It's a hard one.
Because if you ask me, what album should I listen to if I just want to hear the best hits, I would say Rhythm Nation.
Control.
Wow. Yeah. Control would come first.
Yeah.
Control would come first.
I'm glad we didn't have to make this list and that we just get to talk shit about it instead.
I know. Because this would be, I mean, seriously.
It's a hard job, yeah.
Credit to the editors for making some of these decisions. Some of these decisions, fuck you. You totally fucked them up. But this one, I don't think you did. And I think that there's a whole lot of debate here. But this is one where I'm actually going to be okay with this. I'm going to be okay with where it's at. I don't necessarily want to move it up, but I don't necessarily want to move it down either. Like I'm pretty comfortable with this, and I do like it above Rhythm Nation. So
awesome.
All right,
moving on.
Shall we move on? My computer
Let us do so.
Wants to fall asleep. Okay, 317 from 1958. One Miss Billie Holiday and her album Lady in Satin. Rolling Stone says by the time she cut this album in 1958, Billie Holiday had lived several lives, battling drug and alcohol addiction and emerging with a battered psyche and a delivery to match. Holiday had trouble remembering lyrics and sounded weathered, no matter if the song was hopeful or desolate. But on what amounts to one of the last great saloon pop albums of the rock era, her voice retained its supple, distinctive tone, and Ray Ellis's elegant orchestration supported and cushioned her a year before her death. That last clause is fucking terrifying, right? Like she basically recorded this right before she died. And you can hear it, dude. Like everything that they say here is so
There's a
true.
raspy roughness to her voice for sure.
Yeah.
But it also sounds very mature.
It's funny because kind of like the Dylan record that we listened to way back in the 400s, where we were like
the one from the early 2000s.
Yes.
Yeah.
Where we made
Highway.
The,
Highway something, right?
No, something times. Modern Times. We're fucking terrible.
I thought it was because I thought it
Didn't
sounded
we hire a
similar
production-
to Highway 61 Revisited.
Didn't we hire a production manager or something?
He is not present
God damn it.
for some inexplicable reason.
He's probably gonna try and wake up early. Which
That
Justin, you
motherfucker.
never wake up early on Saturday, dude. Never. It's never gonna happen. No, I'm just teasing.
I'm working on finding that out.
Okay. Well, while you're working on that, we talked during that record about some songs sounded as though they were cut earlier in the session, and then other songs sounded like they were cut later based on the quality of his voice. I kind of felt the same way here too. Some of these songs, it just sounded like her voice was just a little more tired than where it was in other places. But this album is, it's basically the swan song for a woman that, man, she went through a lot, between the drugs and the booze. And I want to say that there was battery involved in here as well. I mean,
I would say so. Yeah.
She lived a
just bad
super
relationships.
Yeah, she just lived a super fucking hard life, but she was still able to hold it down and put together a really, really beautiful performance. And they talk in the description about Ray Ellis and the orchestration, and that really it's almost magical the way that they cut the strings and the horns. And then when you get her vocals laid over the top of it, it really is a stunningly beautiful conversation. And you can almost just hear the years and the emotion in the way that her voice is sometimes not there, right? Through that raspiness, or even just almost seemingly a little bit shaky, and it's just age, it's just
age and drug use, but I like it. Honestly, it's like a pleasant weathered quality, and whatever she had to go through to get that, obviously I feel for her, but it works for me, like her voice throughout this record.
Did you so one of the things that I struggled with on this album is nothing stood out to me.
This album is jazz ballads, okay? That's all it is. So if you don't like jazz ballads, you're not going to listen. You're not going to want to listen to this.
No.
And they all are of similar quality, and the bar is high, in my opinion. They're all super, super well done, but none of them have like really standout melodies. There's none of these songs that you're like, damn, that's the best song on the record.
That's
They're all
right.
So I gave a lot of these stars, but I gave them mostly similar amounts. It ranged between 2 and 4.
Every single song.
Yeah.
I put 2 stars next to.
Every single one?
Yeah. And that's in everything that you just like. I literally have nothing to add.
Yeah.
Because everything you said is exactly right. All of the songs sound very similar, and they're all incredibly well done.
Yeah.
The mix is beautiful. The strings and orchestration are stunningly well conducted. And then they're basically adding like a jazz quartet to this orchestra, and that's creating the backdrop. So you get unbelievably wonderful trombone play here and there throughout.
And trumpet. Yeah.
Yes. I mean, spectacular. And the trombone's what stood out to me more than
Same
the
to
trumpet.
me, because there were several trombone solos, at least 3.
Yes. And just, beautifully executed.
Amazing tone.
Yeah. And when you put that like buttery, smooth trombone tone next to that voice of hers, which is carrying all that weight of addiction and use and just like hard living. It's beautiful. It's wonderful.
Some of the trombone was like so buttery that it almost thought it was like a French horn at times, you know, which granted is a little bit higher tone range, you know.
Yeah, and that's what it is,
but some of the higher notes on those trombones, like almost could pass.
Yeah, but just like these beautiful little glissandos where he was going from the lower range of the horn, like up into the upper range of the horn. And it was just, just greasy. Just so fucking spectacular. And I made notes about the trombone on at least 3 songs, maybe 4. But again, beautiful execution, wonderful, but very little no dynamism to the album whatsoever,
which I think is what you're going to get, you know, with this style of music, which is like loungy jazz ballads, you know.
Yeah.
And I'd almost argue is warranting even more that this album should be on this list, because this is really an album. You know what I mean? Like, and it's not on here because of 1 or 2 or 3 or even 4 really good songs.
This was not a hit.
No,
right?
None of these are hits. Like some of these albums that we've had, like there were 3 or 4 really good songs, and then the rest was pretty good, you know. But this is just steady throughout, and
it's a level.
Yeah. So
it's a level, and it's a good one. Do you think this is the only Billie Holiday that we get?
I don't know. Honestly, I'm not familiar enough with her albums to tell that.
Well, Strange Fruit's not on here
at all.
I mean, it's not on this record.
Oh, okay. I wasn't sure if that was an album. I know that's a song.
The song. I feel like we almost are guaranteed a Billie Holiday greatest hits or anthology like collection from her early years.
That's entirely possible.
It seems
a little bit higher energy, more youthful and vibrant.
Yeah, because this was definitely an offshoot for her from the standpoint of the vast majority of her career was her singing with like a jazz quartet or a jazz quintet.
Was she the first one that did a popular recorded version of Strange Fruit?
I believe so.
Because that's just like a traditional song.
Yes.
But she's the first one.
She was the one that
is a haunting fucking song.
It's creepy.
It is it's disconcerting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
As it should be.
Yeah.
As it fucking should be.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I would be really, really surprised if we don't get some type of collection or anthology from her youthful years. Because her voice was so much different.
Yeah.
And her fare, like what she was singing back in those days, was so much different.
I hope we do.
Personally. I hope we do too.
Yeah.
Because I really do love Billie Holiday. In terms of this, I get why it's on the list. I would love this vinyl. Fucking A, I would love this vinyl. I added it to digital because I listened to it on the plane. Will it stay there? I mean, it might. It's just so weird because to me, this one, you got to be in the mood.
Yeah, you definitely do, because it's all jazz ballads. So you got to be in the jazz ballad mood.
Yeah, you probably, you're not going to work out to this unless your name is JB.
I did do that. Yeah. Because I listen to these records a lot of times while I'm working out.
Powerlifting.
In terms of my cold listen.
Heavy squats to Lady in Satin.
I was. So.
That was not a PR day for you.
No,
definitely
the
not.
Music wasn't assisting with that. So
no, absolutely not. Rex says, I swear I was born in the wrong decade. This was her last recorded album before her death from complications from heroin addiction. Her voice, although markedly aged, is still beautiful. The instruments are incredible. This recording is an absolutely brilliant listen. Great record. Such a beautiful talent lost to addiction. Yes.
I like his sentence that her voice, although markedly aged, is still beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's perfect. There's a lot of tread that's been worn off those tires.
But also her technique was refined, you know, because like I was reading about just her style. And basically she learned how to sing, not necessarily from other singers, but from jazz instrumentalists. That was like where she took her style from.
So that's why her phrasing is kind of goofy the way that it
that's
is?
exactly why, because she's singing like instrumentalists, whereas most time it's the opposite. Most time instrumentalists are trying to play like
mimic.
singers.
Yeah,
but just with the timing of when she was coming to prominence and her style, I mean, jazz is instrumental based. There's no arguing there. Jazz singing, while popular, is certainly not the forefront of jazz music. You know, jazz is instruments.
Yep.
And so she basically tried to sing like an instrument would play.
Wow.
You know,
good on her.
Yeah,
good on her. I'm good with it. I'm good with it here. Even if it moved up, even if it inched a little bit closer to 300, I wouldn't be upset by that. She's a hugely important figure.
Big time. And this was my other favorite of the week, for the record.
Oh, okay. Yeah. All right. I didn't hate it, but because it's so unique in its spectrum, it's tough for me to say I adored this so much and I can't wait to go back and listen to it again. Because I'll absolutely go back and listen to it again, but it's going to be like really unique circumstances that draw me back to this.
And you're totally right when you said you got to be in the mood for it.
Yeah, because if you're not, it's just not going to work. You know.
Yeah.
Where are you at with it? Do you want to keep it here? Do you want to move it up?
Keep it here is good.
Okay.
I'm not opposed to moving it up, but I'm not going to advocate for it.
Yeah.
I like where it's at.
Yeah. There's just looking forward through the next 2 or 3 weeks when we return to the list after our little break. I'm looking at those records and I'm like, yeah, fuck that. Like that's where I'm looking at this from a, do I keep it here or do I move it up a little bit? And I'm willing to move it up a little bit.
Yeah. I hear you.
Just based on that.
Should we do the last record of the week?
The very last one, please. Because this is my favorite record of the week.
Yeah, I figured. So 316 is The Who Sell Out from 1967. The Who's third record was their first concept album, first of several, a tribute to the UK's offshore pirate radio stations. The band strung the songs together with mock commercials, Heinz baked beans, parenthetically, and genuine radio jingles. It's The Who's funniest record. The sad love ballad Odorono turns out to be an ad for deodorant. The band expanded its maximum R&B sound with mini rock opera Rael, giving a hint of things to come. Tommy was 2 years away. And I Can See for Miles rode Pete Townshend's thrashiest power chords into the top 10.
That fucking song crushes, dude.
I Can See for Miles.
Yeah.
One of my favorites on this entire thing.
I think that might be the best song that The Who ever made.
Behind Blue Eyes.
That's such a weird, different feel, though.
I know. It is.
It's but not a fucking rocker.
I think that's probably my favorite one, though, by them. Or, Won't Get Fooled Again.
And that one is right up the butt of I Can See for Miles.
Yeah.
Those are really
stylistically.
They're totally cut from the same cloth.
Yeah. I think I'd have to say Behind Blue Eyes is my favorite Who song.
That's got a ton of feels. Yeah. It has so many
beautiful melodies too.
It does.
It's all about the melody on that one for me.
Yeah. Yeah. I couldn't stop thinking about what it would have been like to listen to Entwistle on a live version of I Can See for Miles.
Yeah.
Because that guy was like, when I recorded this, I just fucking rode that E, but that E can suck a dick. I'm going to smash this thing.
I'm going to fuck it up.
Yeah.
In a good way.
For real. Like, that's where he was at.
And that was one of the things I didn't like about this record was that the bass was really buried. The mix was weird throughout a lot of this album.
Listen, true on some songs. On other songs, though, super prominent.
It was either or, but yes, I feel like a lot of them, I could barely hear it.
It was either completely gone or it was there in the way that you want to hear it. And when it was there in the ways that you wanted to hear it, like he was playing with the distortion, right? He was overdriving the fuck out of it. And he was kind of giving you, or at least giving me everything that I would hope for from him.
Yeah.
Especially after seeing some of those videos that you sent me from YouTube and shit.
Yeah.
This
He's
guy
nuts,
was a
man. He's one of the
fucking
best rock
bonkers.
bass players of all time.
And I'm so ashamed to say that it was only within the past couple of weeks that this has even occurred to me, because his playing is just, it's so fucking good, dude. It's so good.
He's great.
This album was fun.
Yeah.
It was fun in a way that I don't think many bands have fun. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It reminded me a lot of Fish.
They weren't taking themselves too seriously.
Fuck no, they weren't.
Yeah.
No, they were making jokes, dude. They were making like silly songs about,
like the deodorant song. Yeah.
Dude, Odorono is so ridiculous lyrically.
It is.
I mean, it really is. It's basically about this girl that's super stoked because she goes and she finally gets to meet like this rock star that she's always wanted to meet. The rock star leans over, like literally leaning in for a kiss, and realizes that her fucking deodorant sucks.
So and
then he pulls back and says, "Oh, I got another appointment I got to go to." And she's depressed and she goes home and she realizes that she should have used Odorono.
She could have avoided that embarrassment.
It's so ridiculous. Just like the song Heinz Baked Beans. Heinz Baked Beans is listed as a song. It's not a fucking song. It's an interlude. A joke. Yeah.
It's what's for tea? And or some silly British sounding horns.
Yeah, just totally fucking ridiculous. And the funniest part about that song to me is that John Entwistle has writing credits.
Yeah, I think he wrote it entirely, right? Like it was just him.
I have no clue.
I think so. What did you write? Maybe he like literally arranged the horn parts.
And that's what I'm wondering.
Which would be kind of cool if he did.
I'm really, really curious. Inquiring minds want to know.
I really liked Armenia City in the Sky.
I gave it 4 stars.
I gave it 3, but yeah, I liked it a lot.
Fucking loved it, dude.
Yeah.
Really, really loved it.
Kind of Beatlesy. Some of this was pretty Beatlesy,
okay.
I thought.
Yes. Like so much of this album to me, I mean, I shouldn't say so much of it. Blips and sparks here and there just totally reeked of Sgt. Pepper's to me.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, because it's pretty psychedelic.
Super psychedelic in a lot of places.
I mean, at least in certain songs.
But even with Armenia in the City, like just really some kind of crazy, trippy sounds that are going on back
right
there.
Off the bat. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's one of the songs that I thought the mix for the Ox was really fucking solid. Like Entwistle's bass lines on that song in particular were just, they were.
And he was overdriven pretty hard. A good tone.
Super hard. Yeah.
Rattly.
Yeah.
Are you sold on overdrive bass after listening to John?
100%, dude.
That's awesome.
100%.
I remember like, when this first came up, you were like, I do not like distorted bass.
I know. But it's, you know, I think what it is it's a combination of the distortion with basically the treble like cranked as fucking high as he can get.
Because it is. It's
super.
It literally
super
sounds
trebly.
like what I love about John Entwistle's tone is it sounds like it's so loud and overdriven that the speaker is literally rattling, banging against something inside of the cabinet. You know,
yes, absolutely,
yeah,
absolutely. But that to me is just,
but it's so authentic sounding.
It's magic.
So it's guttural.
Yeah,
you know,
and really, really unique too. Because I mean, yeah, you get overdrive bass in plenty of places, but man, not that sounds like that.
No.
Did you like Tattoo?
It was okay. I mean, it was a little silly. It was a little. So I like silliness.
It's super silly.
I like silliness, but I don't like. I'm going to try to put these are just words, random words I'm using to describe different vibes. Okay. And if these words don't mean this to you, try to understand like the vibe I'm putting forth and not the literal meaning of the word. There's like a difference between silliness and like whimsicality. Okay.
I
don't necessarily love the whimsicality all the time. like for example, Paul McCartney's Ram, way too whimsical for me. I don't like that. And it's a lot of British artists do this like very whimsical thing to me. That kind of felt like that. So I mean, obviously, I like silliness. Like think about like Frank Zappa compared to Paul McCartney Ram. Like there's silliness with Frank Zappa. Is at least the word, like I said, the word I'm using, you know, to describe my feeling on it. Frank Zappa's silly. Paul McCartney's whimsical.
Yeah.
You know, I don't like the whimsicality. That's a personal taste thing.
And that's the best way to say it, because again, like my note there was that was super Sgt. Peppery.
Yeah.
Super Sgt. Peppery. And I think of like I do think that there's aspects of Magical Mystery Tour and Sgt. Pepper's that are excessively whimsical.
Yeah. I guess I never thought that much about Sgt. Pepper's, because which I don't know. Yeah, we'll have a chance to have a conversation about that.
Yes.
But that's like one of my favorite albums of all time.
I know, but think about it from the term, like, I mean, because there's not a lot of like extreme. The messaging of that album is not intense or like. Man, I'm trying to think about the right word here. It's not like a super, super powerful message. Does that make sense?
And Sgt. Pepper's?
Yeah, it's not like there's no songs on Sgt. Pepper's that have like some deep intrinsical meaning to them.
Yeah, I don't think so.
And if you no, I mean, really, there's not. And if you think about it, I actually think that whimsical is a really good word to use to describe that. Maybe not as good as Magical Mystery Tour. Like Magical Mystery Tour to me is like excessively whimsical in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But I don't dislike that.
And again, maybe I'm not using the right word. Like whatever I mean by whimsical in the context of music, I don't hear as much in Sgt. Pepper's. So maybe I should find a better word to use. You know what I mean?
No, I don't think so. I think that you're using the right word. I just don't think that I don't think that you've ever tried to be too critical with Sgt. Pepper's.
Maybe I just fell in love with it early on and just kind of let it ride.
But I think if you really wanted to approach Sgt. Pepper's with like a more critical eye, I think that you would use the word whimsical.
Okay.
But it's not done distastefully.
Yeah.
And that is probably what you're wrestling with this record is there's a certain level of taste, right?
Yeah.
That like,
and speaking of distasteful whimsicality, Brian Wilson, Smile. Fuck. You know, that's exactly what I do not like, you know? Yeah. And I feel like there's a little bit of that here.
And I get that.
Yeah.
I understand why you feel that way. I didn't necessarily feel as strongly about it. It's there, dude. It's super, super there.
But it's just not,
but it's not so overpowering to me that I'm still going to call it more silly than whimsical.
I hear you. You know? And I definitely like this better than that. You know? Just I liked a lot of this, but there was just some songs. This was pretty hot and cold for me because I loved, like I said, I loved Armenia, City in the Sky. I loved Marianne with the Shaky Hand. Cool, like acoustic folk rock almost. Yep. You know, the third track.
Yep.
I liked Odorono. I didn't like Tattoo that much. Did you like Tattoo?
I did.
You did like that?
Yeah, I liked Odorono and Tattoo basically the same. Odorono is funny because I gave it 2 stars and I literally wrote like a little star above that and I wrote the word maybe next to it because I'm like, I feel like I would be willing to give that more stars just because it's really funny. Like it's so clever and funny. It's so funny.
I do that same thing sometimes too with the maybe star.
Yeah, but Tattoo I actually gave 3 stars.
Funny lyrics.
That's the thing, dude. I just kept giggling. Like I was giggling while I was listening to that because it's so fucking patently ridiculous.
It is very ridiculous, and they're just oddly specific about about the tattoo being on their body is going to be with them for the rest of their life, and just the way they word things kind of does remind you of Fish a little bit, you know.
It really does, you know. And right now in my life, like all roads lead to Fish, but still, it was like I did like it. I gave 5 stars to I Can See for Miles because if you didn't, you're a jerk.
I didn't give it 5.
You jerk.
But I liked it. That was like my second favorite track.
Oh, what was your favorite track?
Probably Armenia.
Really?
I loved that one.
I put 4 stars next to that. It probably could have had 5. The chorus on that is really, really spectacular.
I did not like Our Love Was. Didn't like that one much at all.
Yeah, I didn't either.
I I Can't
The
Reach
bass
You was
line, though,
pretty okay.
I did like the bass line on Our Love Was.
Yeah.
But the song itself was just, it wasn't great.
I liked Relax.
Yes, I gave 3 stars to Relax.
Nice.
I really liked that a lot. It had a cool little shuffle to it. I also gave 3 stars to Rael, parts 1 and part 2.
I liked that one too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which was just the one track, right?
Yes.
Like not both. Yeah. Cause like
Yeah.
I was reading that on the re-release, there was Rael 1 and then Rael 2, but they were miscorrectly labeled. This Rael is part 1 and 2, and the other one is like some kind of reprise.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
You can definitely hear when they end part 1 and go into part 2.
Why do I know that outro to Rael? Was that on the live Who? That like it's like dun 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 dun, like that little instrumental section at the end. Like, well, why do I know that? Because I knew that from somewhere. And I don't know if they maybe played that on the live Who album that we had.
Man, maybe. I don't remember it. But did you pick up in Sunrise when they started that acoustic guitar run? You heard Tommy there, right?
I did not, but it's entirely possible.
It's literally the very first part, because there's kind of that long, like finger-picked acoustic guitar run. The very first bar of that, if you go back and you re-listen to that, it sounds to me like they listened to that and they were like, oh man, we got something really good here. Like instead of running down these notes like they did on Sunrise, it felt to me like they just took that first measure and they're like, dude, this is too good. Let's just repeat this a few times. And that it sounds like Tommy to me is what it sounds like. But
I'll listen to that again with that in mind.
Yeah. But Rael 1 and 2 is really, really good. And it was funny because like the way that it appeared on Apple Music. So when they cut this record, they actually cut a repeating track into the back of side 2. And you get that on the digital recording too. Like they only repeat it they might repeat it like 4 times and then they just fade it out. But if you actually own the vinyl to this record and you don't ever stop the record, it'll just continue to repeat. Kind of like the way I think the White Album does.
So it's just like a circle at the end?
Yes.
Okay.
So it's a single groove that doesn't go anywhere and it'll just continue to repeat. And it literally says, you can make out the words, the track ran out. And it just continues to repeat that.
Oh.
The track ran out. The track ran out. The track.
That's kind of cool.
The track ran out. It is kind of cool.
I like it when artists think about that
around.
being like a possibility with records.
With records,
you can just have like a groove that leads into that circle, and then it's just like a circle.
Yes,
there's no breaking of it.
There's no breaking of it, and that's exactly what this record does.
That's cool.
And they put a little snippet into the digital recording, but if you actually buy the vinyl, it would be burned in there. And if you didn't stop the record, it wouldn't ever stop.
It would just keep going until you turn it off.
Yeah, it would just continue to repeat. So I dug that. Like I don't know.
That makes me want it on vinyl.
It does. It makes me, I mean, I wanted to buy it on vinyl anyway, just because I do like the songs on here. And I want to see this gatefold because this gatefold was put together. It's all like a big joke. It's supposed to be like this big pirate radio station. And so the gatefold has basically 4 different advertisements that are listed throughout the record. So the picture of Pete Townsend is him with a giant stick of Odorono deodorant. Roger Daltrey is sitting in a bathtub full of Heinz baked beans, which is another track on here. Keith Moon is applying Medak, which Medak on the record was a song basically about zit cream. So he's like applying zit cream to an oversized zit on his face on the gatefold. And then John Entwistle is dressed up like Tarzan, holding on to like this big tittied blonde woman next to him. And that represents the commercial for like Dr. Dynamics like workout kit.
Oh yeah.
The fuck it was.
At the end of
Sunrise,
maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was like, you will be a specimen of a man.
You'll be a specimen of a man.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it was, something like that.
But that was the other clever part about that is a lot of those commercials were literally just cut by Keith Moon and John Entwistle.
A lot of those were real commercials. Did you know that?
Yes.
Like that
because they got
they
fucking
recorded.
sued, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, that they just like put on their album.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
they had already recorded
on there.
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly, which is hilarious.
I think there's so much going on here. I really like it. I do want to pick up this vinyl. I liked the record. I liked the record digitally. It's one that I'm not going to delete. I'm going to keep it in my digital collection. I wish that it wasn't a super fucking bango deluxe version that had 87 tracks to it. Like, I don't need that much.
That would be better if it wasn't.
Out. Yeah, I wish it was just the OG.
I want the 38-minute version, which is which is what the OG version.
Yeah.
But I would do the vinyl for sure. I would do it. And I'm not interested. I'm not going to do the digital. But
yeah,
you liked it more than me. I'm glad you did, because you're kind of, I do like The Who in general, even though this wasn't my favorite album by them, I do like them. So I'm glad you're kind of starting to work up to that a little more.
Listen, without John Entwistle, I would never be down with The Who.
Yeah.
But at this point in the game, I'm really like, I'm ostensibly all in as long as he's in the mix.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Definitely.
But he's got to be in the mix.
He's got to be prominent too.
Because so many of these songs, like, he's not mixed well, and it really sucks.
Yeah.
It's super noticeable when you don't get his bass. Yeah. Like, something is missing. Now, with that being said, I don't feel super strongly about moving it up unless you're just going to move it up like 15 spots, because I would take it closer to 300. Yeah, only because I know what else is coming up. So
yeah, I'd probably leave it as is, or even drop it down a little tiny bit.
Yeah,
but not a lot. I don't want to see it drop down below 400 or anything like that. But a little bit would be okay.
But if it was at 375, would you be happy?
Yeah. But I'm also not unhappy at 316.
No, it's super unique.
Yeah.
It's super unique. They had a fun idea, and I think that they executed
They
it
rode
well.
with it. Yep.
Yeah. So Rex says, yes, the experimental sounds of The Who. That is exactly what this record is. A noise cloud bursting forth and raining down smooth sounds. This feels like, quote, the preamble to the soundtrack to the Tommy, or to the soundtrack to the musical Tommy. It's an adventurous type of music and sound. It's psychedelic and trippy. Good album.
Yeah. We agree.
Cool.
With you, Rex.
We agree with you, buddy.
On that, at least.
Yeah. Fucking Jesus. I don't even remember what we were angry with Rex about.
Because he hated the Stone Roses.
Jesus, Rex. Hate.
Such a
strong word. Okay. So
next week.
More to come on what the hell we're going to do next week.
Yes, more to come on that. And you'll get another Rolling Stones entry 2 weeks, right? 2 weeks from today.
Yes. Yeah.
A normal. Actually, maybe it's going to be that Thursday.
We'll because there's gigs, like there's a bunch of stuff coming.
We have some stuff that weekend, but that weekend you will get another Rolling Stones episode.
We'll get back to the list
for those that are not interested in Fish, but for those that are maybe open to it a little bit,
Fish questioning.
Exactly. That's what I was looking for. Check it out. But the next episode will be Fish centric.
It will be Fish centric.
Yeah.
We'll be in the pool. We'll be in the tank.
Yeah.
In the tank at that point. But should we go ahead and preview the next Rolling Stone episode?
Yes, let's do that.
Yeah, because I guess we can revisit it again next week.
Yeah, we'll probably do both, but we might as well hit it now.
Yeah. Because the next week where we return to Rolling Stone, it's gonna be interesting. At number 315, another very, very highly ranked, very recent album from 2018. The album is El Mal Querer by Rosalia.
314 is Aaliyah. Am I saying that right? Aaliyah. So no, you could have just said no. Aaliyah, 1 in a million.
Hey, an editorial comment for anybody that's curious. If you're playing this game at home, you are not going to find 1 in a million on any streaming service, because
if you do, let us know.
Yeah, if you fucking know where to get this outside of just buying the CD, please let us know. But that one's going to be tricky because Aaliyah died in a plane crash, and her estate is still fucking up in terms of getting her material on streaming services. So if you figure out a way to listen to it without buying the CD, let us know. After that, at number 313 from 2000, we're going to talk about PJ Harvey's album, Stories from the City, Stories from the Sea.
I have no idea what that is.
I did a cold listen to that.
Did you like it?
I did like it, actually.
Okay, cool.
It's different. Yeah.
312 is Solange, A Seat at the Table.
Are you familiar with that?
No.
That's a fucking spectacular record.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, I'm excited for you. And the last one that we're going to talk about once we return to this bullshit list is the 1974 album from Neil Young, On the Beach. Do you know that one?
Not by the name, but I'm sure I know some of the tunes on it.
I can almost promise you that I will not.
You're not really a Neil Young guy, right?
It's not that I dislike Neil Young. I had a traumatic experience with Neil Young
when
I was in high school
Jam.
at a Pearl Jam concert.
Yep.
It really fucked. Dude, I lost decades.
You don't think traumatic is a strong word there?
No, listen, dude, I lost decades where I could have been enjoying Neil Young, but because of the post-traumatic stress disorder of having to see him perform with Pearl Jam for hours where they played the same songs over and over and over again. They didn't really do that.
But it felt like that.
I was in high school. What can I say?
Yeah.
It was a bad look.
All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for tuning in. As always, we will see you next time, okay?
Bye-bye. We'll see you next week at the Fish Show.
See you there.
This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. This list sucks. It sucks.
Happy summer tour.